go. Okay. Hello, happy campers. I'm Spike.
I'm Chris.
That is Chris. This is Geeking Out, and that's the end. Bye, y'all. Economic performance wasn't as bad as everybody said it was going to be.
Yeah. Not really. It's still holding strong. I mean, it's Star Wars. Of course it's going to hold strong.
Compared to Cats. Cats made like $1.98 last week.
Yeah, with all the issues that it's having.
Such as?
Well,
aside from being furry central.
Well, apparently, like when the movie came out, they had to take it back because there was a hand problem. There's a
scene with Dame Judi Dench, she says her character's gender fluid, by the way, but her hand isn't gender fluid. You see, instead of wearing a full-on costume for the scene, they CGI'd fur onto her, but there was one square where they missed, so you can actually see Dame Judi Dench's hand with her wedding ring on it. So
I don't understand how they missed that, honestly.
It's
a lot of work that they had to do to sit there and get all the movement of the hair and stuff like that, but they missed the patch.
But here's something.
Funny.
This is something that I think we're probably going to have to keep an eye on in the future, because in the past, if there was a mistake somewhere in the film,
yeah,
they would have to repaste the film. Okay, they'd have to they couldn't issue a recall for the original film because, well, it's out in the theaters and people are paying money to see it. So if it was that bad of a mistake, they would have to send out a second film to all the theaters and insist the theaters send the old ones back, and that would take a couple of weeks at least, and who knows how many millions of dollars to accomplish. This time it was just a matter of rerunning the code, making sure it executed properly, and then doing a push via the internet to all the theaters, since only theaters with digital equipment were able to show Cats. Lucky guys. But they were able to get the new file down and push it out. Now, can you imagine if we had that technology back in, like, say, 1980 or so, when George Lucas was still stomping around? How many changes would he have made to the original Star Wars, where he knew he could just make a change like that, push it out, and it would be in theaters within a couple hours?
Well, technically, he already did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what he did with the first 3 Star Wars movies.
Mm-hmm.
That I think, when did he do all this? Like in the somewhere in the 90s, I believe, where he added a scene with Han Solo and what's his name?
Greedo?
No. The big slug-looking creature.
Oh, Jabba the Hutt.
Jabba the Hutt. Yeah, they had like a conversation, and Han Solo steps on his tail, and Jabba the Hutt goes "Arr!" like that. It was all this was back when the VHS were still there. It was like remastered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the reissue when he started doing Episode 1 and all the prequel mess. And then
bad taste.
But now, I mean, it's one thing for you to sit down and redo the entire film, which is what George Lucas basically did. But he still sent out, it was a physical copy going out to every theater. There are no physical copies anymore. Most of these theaters get them digitally. So in other words, they download it like you do off iTunes, but they get a really high-end copy of it and play it that way. So there's no film to melt anymore. It's all projection. That's why you see so many people buying these projectors in the stores these days. They finally figured out all I have to do is hook that up to my interwebs, and I can start running apps off a server and get whatever size screen I want. I just project it for like $50, $100, $200.
Yeah.
A fraction of the cost of a big, huge, high-definition TV. And most of that it's not DLP level technology, but it's close. But now, like I said, Lucas did that, and he sent out physical copies of the film. Imagine if George Lucas goes on a bender one weekend, and he makes a bunch of decisions, and so they have to chop up the film, do it his way, and push it out the next day. Okay, so now all of a sudden Jar Jar Binks is the star of Episode 1. And then George looks at it and he says, no, that's not good enough. They have to redo it. So the next day, Jar Jar is now sitting there wielding double lightsabers and stuff and kicking like a rocket. Yeah.
You know what? It'd be funny if he actually did that with the Christmas episode. Just redid everything.
I would redo the whole thing. You know what? We were going to talk about closure anyway on this episode because Episode 9 ended the Skywalker saga, and The Mandalorian closed out its first season with the 8th episode of Disney Plus on Friday. Jon Favreau has already decided there's going to be a season 2. He's
of course they're going to do a season 2. There's no way.
But this time with a lot more Baby Yoda merchandise available. Out of all the studios in Hollywood, Disney is the only one that would have the stones to do that. They would not even send out proposals to produce Baby Yoda merch because they didn't want the word getting out because Jon Favreau asked them not to, and they're like, "Well, how many billions has he made us over the years?" Yeah, we'll spot you this one.
We'll talk about the Mandalorian. Let's finish off with the Skywalker thing.
Okay, closure.
You know,
it's time. You go ahead and tell them what you. Now we did a review, we did knee-jerk review last week on the Rise of Skywalker after we saw it. I actually liked it a little better than I think most of the critics and online people have.
I mean, I understand why a lot of people didn't like it. I mean, there's a lot of things that was just thrown in there, and then it was just like, what the hell happened? Because, like, I mean, there's moments and scenes that didn't match up and things to make you go, wait, what? You know, so, I mean, I liked it. It's not one of those, out of all the new ones, the last 3 that we've had, I still say Force Awakens was the best one out of all of them. Last Jedi I liked because there was certain scenes and the way it was shot that made me go, wow. But then there was also parts of it that I didn't like. This one, it is what it is. I liked it, but yeah, I mean, it did end up like Game of Thrones style, you know? It's like it gave some people what they want and some people what they did not want or wasn't expecting. And like when we went and watched this movie, like what, a few days after it came out or whatever?
Like I think it came out we saw it the day after it came out.
Alright, well, see, I was already hearing a bunch of people, not non-spoilers, but there was a bunch of people that was already jumping out there and literally, they didn't say that they loved it, but they didn't say that they necessarily hated it. It was just, what in the hell happened? That's it. From everybody's response I was getting from was that was it. So it made me go, I kind of want to see what the heck is going on here.
Do you know what the difference? Here, I'm going to ask a question. This will help you. It's not going to make any sense at first. Mine never do, but it eventually will help you understand what I'm talking about. Do you know the difference between a cook and a chef?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a cook and a chef?
Well, you got the cook who just cooks, and then you got the chef who literally prepares and puts passion in what it is that they're making.
A cook goes through and like you said, he goes through the mechanics of actually preparing a food. The chef is the one with the vision.
Yeah, and they have a lot of passion
and decides
what they want.
What goes in, what's left out, most importantly, and which is just as important as what's put in, and how it's going to be presented. Okay, there's an old saying. The old saying is, "Too many cooks spoil the broth," and that's not accurate. Okay. you could have 100 cooks working on a single pot of broth, but if they're all following the instructions, that broth is going to turn out just fine. Too many chefs spoil the broth, and that's what's killed, absolutely gutted Star Wars. Now, Star Wars 1 was George Lucas's baby. Okay, he's the one who came up with the idea, he's the one who came up with the concepts, everything got pulled out of it, okay? Just like Gene Roddenberry did with Star Trek. The parallels are incredible between the two of them. Gene Roddenberry, came up with the idea of Star Trek. Yes, George Lucas came up with the idea of Star Wars. Yes, they named, developed the main characters. Yeah. George Lucas wrote some of the story on in the first Star Wars, and Gene Roddenberry wrote some of the stories in the first Star Trek, the original series. Beyond that, they're a figurehead. Okay. George Lucas was not as involved in The Empire Strikes Back until late in the game. You can actually see, you said The Force Awakens you thought was the best.
Well, out of the last three.
Out of the last three. Out of all nine.
I can literally sit there and watch Force Awakens over and over again, and honestly not get bored with it. Last Jedi, there'll be a few parts that I would like literally fast forward through just to get to the good parts, and then with this one, honestly, I really don't care about watching it again.
Mm-hmm. What's the name of the Oriental chick in the second in the episodes?
Her name in the movie, I think, is called Rose.
Mm-hmm.
I think her name is Rose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Something or other. Do you think casual fans know who Rose is?
After this movie, no. After
episode 8.
The thing is that she had a bigger part in the 8th film. But I mean, that's also the same thing with I can't remember her name is, but she was from Game of Thrones. Everybody was talking about how she came in. She had the golden mask on in the Force Awakens, and she was the villain, and everybody was like, holy cow, she's going to be in this movie, but she was in it very little. And then with The Last Jedi, she was in it very little, and then she gets killed off. And everyone was like, well, that was a waste of character. They could have had anybody play that character. Literally. So, but I mean, whatever. And then they did the same thing with Rose. It's like she's in this movie very little lines. She's just like, hey guys, remember me? I'm still here.
Okay.
We'll go back.
Alright. We're going to refer to episode numbers on these Star Wars movies rather than sit here and throw the names out because it's idiotic, okay?
Yes.
4, 5, and 6 were the first ones to come out. That was George Lucas. Okay.
Oh,
George Lucas kind of guided it. He had a lot more to do with the first movie than he did with the second, than he did with the third. Okay. George Lucas's contribution to the second and third movies, for example, in the second movie he fired the chief writer, which is why it seems like the first half, 2/3 of the movie is awesome because they had a really good writer, and then George Lucas fired him and finished writing the thing up, and everybody's like, what? Until they get to the point with Darth and Luke at the very end. Now, Lucas's contribution to Episode 6 was Ewoks. Okay. Now, Episodes 1, 2, and 3, that was George Lucas. That's his vision of Star Wars. Exactly. And all the hardcore fans like...
It's amazing how he can create these ideas. And we go with it and is amazingly awesome and fantastic. But when they do it their own way, it turns horribly. It's the same thing with Stephen King, you know, like with The Shining. It's like everybody loved The Shining that Stanley Kubrick did. But nobody hated the TV series that was on, well, not TV series, but TV movie made that Stephen actually did. And it's like, because he hated Stanley Kubrick's
version. Yeah, because Kubrick did his version. Kubrick has an ego about that big, so he did it his way. That was his vision of the story, not Stephen King.
George Lucas, like with what is now known as Episode 1, 2, and 3, like it was nothing but politics, and it was just boring, and it just seemed to lag on forever and ever.
Why did they make money? Why did 1, 2, and 3 make money? Okay. Now hold on. Think about this. What you said is true. It's all about politics. It's all about intrigue. Okay. It's all about the yada yada, the blah 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 blah. Very little. Not. I'm not going to say there was no action in those 3 films, but comparatively speaking, they were the 3 slowest films of all 9. Okay.
They were a bore fest, honestly.
But that's what George Lucas wanted to do. How much input did George Lucas have in Episode 7? Remember, Disney had bought him by that point. And Lucas had nothing to do with it no more. He was moved on.
Yeah.
He cashed in, he moved on.
Yeah, that's right. He just
Episode 7 was Disney's. Who directed Episode 7? You're so smart.
J.J.
J.J. Abrams. Okay. Who directed Episode 8?
Rian Johnson.
Mm-hmm. And who directed Episode 9?
J.J.
Okay. So you have Episode 7 with J.J. Abrams. Okay.
But now J.J. actually had his own particular vision. He just didn't know that.
There you go. Now, J.J. Abrams has his own vision. Okay, now understand, by this point, J.J. Abrams has done, for Disney, he's done Lost, I think Fringe was produced through ABC, I'm not sure. Alias was done. He's made all kinds of money for ABC already. Okay? Just like Happy Hogan, Jon Favreau has done for Marvel and Disney, by extension, where he can do, Disney will cut him the slack. Okay? Episode 7, the idea was give J.J. Abrams the opportunity to tell his own Star Wars story and finish the Skywalker saga. Okay? I want to refer to these 9 films as the Skywalker saga. Okay? Yeah. Might as well. It's all about Skywalkers, one or the other. And I don't know what happened. I don't pay enough attention. Somewhere between Episode 7 and 8, J.J. had to step down. Rian Johnson's brought in. Okay? Rian Johnson is a social justice warrior. Okay? He's out there to make a point. He's out, and that's where you get Rose Tico, or whatever her name is. That's where you got all these other little guys who are popping up out of nowhere, making their points, and pretty much just blowing the hell out of whatever J.J. had done. Okay? Yeah. The difference between J.J. having a vision and Rian Johnson having a vision summed up in the first 2 minutes of Episode 8. Remember what happened at the end of Episode 7? Okay? Now, Rey, who is now considered... hardcore fans take an aspirin if they have to discuss Rey. Okay? She goes through all this hell. She's journeyed all the way. She's gone from the ass end of the universe to the front end of the universe. She's carried Luke Skywalker's lightsaber to him, climbs up a cliff, chasing off all these cute little critters that are they're just fine for merchandising. Finally managed to find Luke. Luke pulls his head down, and we end the first movie. Okay? Awesome. Everybody's like, oh my frickin' God.
Exactly.
Episode 8 is going to be so frickin' awesome.
Exactly.
And then Rian Johnson gets a hold of it. He opens it in the first 2 minutes. What's the first thing that happens? Rey hands him his lightsaber. He stands there. He holds it. He looks at it. He tosses it over his shoulder and
Which
walks
actually
away.
made me laugh in the theater. I was just like, oh, okay.
Why did Rian Johnson do that? Why would he have Luke throw away his lightsaber? Now, there's actually a reason. Because Rian Johnson's reason is that Luke tried to kill Ben Solo, or whatever his name is, Kylo Ren, whatever his name is, and tried to kill him with the lightsaber in his sleep because he saw how dark he was going to be, and then so he turned away from being a Jedi. Okay, that's what Rian Johnson's story is. Rian Johnson's actual reason was he wanted to shit in J.J. Abrams' bed. You should have come to me with episode 7, Rian Johnson says, and I would have done the story right. I would have changed the world with my story, but no. You had to give it to Lens Flare over there. Let me show you how you shit in a bed. And she did for 2.5 hours. So then, episode 8's done. And who is... Now, we're operating on my brain cells from here, okay? From my memory, you may know this better than I do. I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments. Who was set to direct episode 9 the minute episode 8 released?
Oh, man, I don't...
Now, I'm working on my brain cells here. This is my memory. Do you remember who was supposed to be directing episode 9?
No, I could not remember at all.
Rian Johnson.
Really? I thought it was a...
In the very early stages, it was his story from that point forward, from the start of episode 8 on, because J.J. Abrams didn't have the time for it. Disney sees what a huge mess episode 8 is, and so they're trying different people. Remember what happened with Solo?
Yeah.
And they bought in Opie Taylor to save that film. And he took one look at it and he says, I can get it out into theaters, guys, but there's no saving this film. And they're like, all right, just get it out of here. Get it out of our... We've got plenty of toilet paper, just get it out. Okay?
Yeah.
So he pushes it out, and by golly, it lands with a big old nasty thud, and just splatters all over the cinemas and stuff. That's Solo. Rian Johnson gets in there. Disney's like, all right, you kind of crapped the bed with episode 8. We need you to follow what we told you to do a little more here in episode 9. This was the game plan. This is what you're supposed to be following. Hey, my art demands I smear crap all over every wall in every theater in the country, okay? We're going to do it my way or I'm not going to do it. Okay? Disney says, you're not going to do it. Bye. And they throw Rian Johnson out. And they threw all of Rian Johnson's buddies out with him. Now suddenly they have no production crew.
So they ask JJ to come back to save.
So Disney comes in. So Disney's looking around, and guess what? Disney does not want JJ to have to come back to this because he's got other commitments. He's got other things he's got to do. And they can understand that. I mean, he's got Bad Robot to tend to. He's got all these other properties to ruin. Okay, fine. But Disney starts hunting around. Okay, who wants to make a Star Wars movie? Who wants to make episode 9? And everybody in Hollywood said, no way, we want nothing to do with it. They all turned their backs on Disney. Everybody. Understand, this is Hollywood.
Yeah.
This is where people will happily sit there and dance a waltz and stuff with knives in their both hands, trying to stab each other in the back for an opportunity to get a hold of one of those $100 million budget movies. Nobody wants to touch this. It's radioactive. It's kryptonite. This is nuclear waste. Nobody wants anything to do with it. Disney goes to JJ and basically says, look, we need to get this crap out. If you can make something presentable out of it, that's great. But we need you to get this crap out of our system because we have been constipated with this since we bought the franchise years ago. Please get the crap out of here. And JJ's like, I got this. And he goes in. What JJ does, Rian Johnson is a message. He's an auteur. Okay? Rian Johnson is an auteur. He has a message to tell. Okay? He has a message to communicate. J.J. Abrams is an entertainer.
Yeah.
Okay? He goes for the casual fans. That's why you have the lens flares. Ooh, shiny.
Yeah, but even though, I mean, forget about I know you got a problem with the flares.
Oh, fuck the lens flare.
But the thing that made me so damn happy when Force Awakens came out was they got rid of the CGI aliens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was maybe a little bit of CGI in there, but
that's
they
JJ.
brought back the puppets, and that to me, like I remember watching that whole thing where they're on stage and they brought out BB-8 and some of the aliens from the movie, and I was just like, thank you. It's like that's what that's Star Wars right there. and that to me was great. And I understand that
again, that's the vision. That's
it's
the
a great
artistic
I
vision. We want to make this authentic. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We saw what George Lucas did with episodes 1, 2, and 3 with all the CGI.
Oh,
We saw how he basically took the cantina scene from the original Star Wars and redid it so Greedo shot first. Okay, that's all CGI. CGI nowadays is easy to pull off. Okay?
Yeah, but
It costs money, it takes time, but it can be done. You can do it almost anything in
Yeah.
CGI thanks to Pixar.
but if you overdo it, then yeah, you're going to get
It
a
loses-
Pixar
it
movie
loses its
basically.
touch.
It's all
And nothing,
cartoonish.
hold on, when you've got too much CGI, nothing is legit, nothing is real. Now you suspect everything. Like you said, you expect everything to be cartoons. This is the problem that they're worrying about with the Uncanny Valley. Once the Uncanny Valley is crossed when it comes to CGI, and you can make virtual actors who look like actual human beings being filmed, then why do you need actors anymore? You just need voices from that point forward.
Especially now, have you seen this face switch or whatever it is, where you can take a celebrity's face, put it on somebody?
Yeah, and it's a stupid little iPhone app, for God's sake.
But it's cool because I mean, there's, I don't know if you've seen them. I'm sure some people's out there have seen them, but there's actually Collider. Go to Collider, you'll find these videos.
Don't go to Collider.
But but there's actually there's an actor playing George Lucas, an actor playing Harrison Ford, talking about the movie and stuff like the new movies. But it's not really them, but it looks like that they're actually there, and it is hilarious. But I mean, it's like so easy now to do this.
There's a term for that. It's called deep fake.
That's what it is.
Deep fake. Now, understand this all goes back to Photoshop long before that. Actually, they've been faking stuff for centuries now. Photoshop made it available to the masses, where people could fake a photograph. Okay, but that's a still scene. When your deep fakery involves doing video, which is like 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second. The higher the quality, the more frames you need, the more frames you got to fake. As technology improves, you're able to go from doing 12 frames per second in a cost-effective manner to doing 18, doing 24, doing 30. Now you're at high definition. Then you do 45, now you're at ultra high definition. 60 frames per second, now you're doing 4K shit. Now, how do you prove? I mean, with traditional Photoshop, you can look at the shadows that are thrown by things that are pushed in. If some person has light on this side of their face and everything else in the scene has light on this side, you know whoever has the light on this side is fake. It's been pasted in. So you can spot a fake. With modern technology, the technology automatically corrects the light from here to here and makes it look like a natural part of the scene, so you can't tell. Okay, now that's one thing for Hollywood to do. How much longer before news agencies do that? How much longer before the Russians get a hold of that?
Oh, yeah.
How much longer before the Chinese get a hold of that? China's already trying to destroy our cyber infrastructure as it is, so you can imagine what happens when they're able to get the deep fakery there. At the very worst, they're going to start getting people killed with this stuff. At the very least, they're going to destroy all credibility of every media source out there. But we're getting far afield now from deep fakery. Again, the CGI, where we wound up from. You were talking about how instead of CGI, J.J. Abrams was pushing for puppetry.
Yeah, just like the original, the 70s.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. People can tell. It's not even something you can sit there and describe, but you can tell just looking at it.
Exactly. I mean,
It's
you can have like puppets or somebody dressed up as an alien. Looks more realistic than episodes 1, 2, and 3. That all the aliens looked so cartoonish. It's like and it's like the actors are looking at an alien, but they're down there.
Mhm.
It's like, it's just so stupid, and that's why I was so excited about that. So
So again, let's take a few more steps back to rewind what we were talking about. J.J. Abrams is more for the casual fan.
yeah,
Okay. Star Wars works best aimed at the casual fan because the Star Wars diehards are going to be there regardless.
oh yeah,
Okay.
they're
This
yeah,
is what kills wrestling fans in the WWE for years now. Vince McMahon could crap in his hand and throw it at you. If you're a wrestling fan, you're going to watch it because it's wrestling. It's WWE. Same thing with Star Wars. If you're a diehard Star Wars fan, you're going to watch these movies. Okay, so you're guaranteed. J.J. Abrams figured out, hey, if we're going to really make billion-dollar blockbusters here, and remember, JJ's trying to put out the dumpster fire by this point in Episode 9. Okay, he's trying to take whatever mess he had, trying to throw the whiny little snots as many bones as he can, which is why Rose showed up at all in Episode 9. I'm sure if it was J.J. Abrams, he'd have left her completely out, or blown her away in the first 5 seconds, but that would have just started the screamy eekies out there screeching. So
oh hell, they were screeching.
the harpies are going to screech anyway. And again, the diehard faithful will always be there for the franchise. The harpies are always going to screech. Now you got harpies screeching because Rose didn't get enough time. You got harpies screeching because Ray didn't make out with Kylo Ren. And then you got harpies on the other side, the Comics Gate and the Force Awakens groups, whatever you want to call them. The dark side of the fandom, who are just sitting there crying about all the social justice warriors and stuff. They're the ones who sat there and threw all the Rotten Tomatoes at Episode 8, trying to get everybody to stay away from it. Didn't work, but you're never going to make them happy. So
no.
the harpies will never be happy. The hardcores will always be there. The idea is appeal to the casual fan. That's what J.J. Abrams did with Episode 9. That's why the hardcore fans don't like it, because it's not giving them all of their wet dreams. It's J.J. Abrams trying to put out the dumpster fire.
Well, it's that, yes, and all the things behind the scenes of like directors and all that stuff and their vision. But it's also the fact that how I was wanting the Star Wars movies to kind of go was bring in a new cast. That's great. I like this new cast. But I would like to see them move away from Skywalker story and all that and go on their own adventures. The thing about this that I think a lot of people have real problems with is that you have been invested all these years with the Skywalker franchise, the whole Skywalker family, all of them. And then all of a sudden in the last 3 movies, it's like, I'm using the Force and then I'm dead. I'm using the Force and then I'm dead. And that's it. It's like, that's how they go out. That's how they end the whole Luke Skywalker and Leia and all them. It's like, use the Force once and then I'm dead. It's like, what the hell?
Okay, hold on. Which Skywalker rose in Episode 9?
Huh?
The Rise of Skywalker. Which Skywalker rose in Episode 9?
You know, that's...
There's a correct answer here, believe it or not. There is a Skywalker at the end of Episode 9. There's one Skywalker left. Who is it? Oh.
Oh, hell.
There's a reason you can't think of her last name.
Oh my God! You know what? I've always wondered, like, why did they call it the Rise of Skywalker? Because there is no Skywalker.
The last 5 seconds of the film.
Last 5 seconds of the film.
Mm-hmm. Before the credits roll, Rey announces herself as a Skywalker.
Oh.
Rey takes up the mantle of Skywalker. She is the last.
Okay.
She is the rise of the Skywalker.
I don't know how I forgot that. With all of
you blacked it out,
yeah.
but Now, we need to wrap this episode up because I know we're already 30, 40 minutes into this thing. But anyway, when it comes down to it, okay, here's what I would recommend. We're putting closure on the Skywalker saga, okay? 9 movies in 42 years is frickin' enough, okay? We need to put that down. The Star Wars saga goes on, and in our next episode we're going to talk about The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian.
And getting closure on the first season of that, which was frickin' hilarious. But anyway.
That's great.
Let me give one piece of advice. Now, I do this every time we talk about hypotheticals and stuff, and I throw an idea out there,
Yeah.
okay? Sometimes it sticks, sometimes it usually doesn't, but let's see if I can blow your mind on this one, okay? Take the Star Wars franchise, okay? Take everybody at Lucasfilm, put them doing anything else. Say, hey, you know what? Let's make you guys like Pixar. You do your own thing, okay? You let us know what you're doing. You guys do you guys go ahead and do your own thing. Hey, what about Maniac Mansion? There are a lot of people who still think about Maniac Mansion from back in the 80s. The old video games and stuff. What if you would do something like that with Weird Ed? Wouldn't that be a great... Yeah, that'd be a great idea. So here comes Lucasfilm. They go running off to do Maniac Mansion. So Mickey's sitting there. Mickey Mouse is sitting there, and he's got... And you can hear the Godfather theme going in the background. You know, that's Paramount. He's sitting there. He's got the Star Wars logo in his hand.
He has a fox ring.
Yeah, he's got the little fox ring and everything. And he sits there. He picks up the phone. He types a button. He says, "Hey, Avia Rod? Yes. How would you like to take control of the Star Wars franchise for me?" So take a bunch of the guys from the old Marvel Star Wars comics, okay? Take a bunch of the creatives from the Marvel staff, put them over on Star Wars. Let them start a new saga, okay? Skywalker has nothing to do with it. No Skywalkers in this one. No solos. No shit, okay? Let them, because for 20 years after the very first movie, Marvel did nothing but Star Wars comics. And they were introducing characters hand over fist. The idea of the 2 goofy stormtroopers that you saw in The Mandalorian, Marvel did that back in the 80s. They were doing that back in the 80s and 90s in their original run, okay? That was in Star Wars, the comic, okay? Let some of the creative guys at Marvel who have experience dealing with the Star Wars property on behalf of 20th Century Fox, let them take over the franchise, let them develop a new saga to tell, and all of a sudden, look what happened. Jon Favreau made his meat doing which film for Marvel?
Oh, Iron Man.
Iron Man. He made Marvel how many billions of dollars?
A lot. And that's not even what they were going for at first.
Yeah,
Marvel was wanting to do just an Avengers movie.
Iron Man was the B team, okay?
Yeah.
Because the A team were like Wolverine, Spider-Man and stuff, and those all belonged to other guys. Iron Man was what was left. Thor was what was left. Captain America was what was left. All the second tier guys.
And that's what
and now all of a sudden, not only is Spider-Man getting cups, Iron Man's getting cups. We got little Captain America plushies. This is my angry Captain America, by the way. I love him very much. But, matter of fact, I'm just going to leave him here. Set the Marvel guys loose on the Star Wars franchise and just watch the money roll in.
Oh, yeah. Because it will.
And then
people will eat this shit up.
Cue the Godfather music, pan the screen back. Mickey sits there.
With his hand going like this, with a ring of Fox, a ring of, what else? Pixar.
He's got National Geographic, and he just turns around. He puts his finger out, and Jeff Goldblum is kissing his ring. Fade to black. Next problem. So you think Marvel? Put some of the Marvel crew onto the Star Wars set and leave them in charge. Let them handle the charge for Star Wars, and just keep keep making the money, because guess what? Marvel's already on, good Lord, their third generation of creative talent starting for that company.
Yeah, they keep going and going.
John Favreau is making Disney billions of dollars.
Yeah, and
he's Gen 1. He wasn't even the focus, guys. In Iron Man, it was all about Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. is now doing Dr. Dolittle. He's got enough cash, and he's sober enough to hang on to it, which is awesome. Thank you, Robert. And now suddenly,
thank you, Robert.
John, it's not Robert Downey Jr.'s names on everybody's lips anymore. It's John Favreau's. Not because he played Happy Hogan, but because he did The Mandalorian.
See, now that's the thing.
He came up with putting the Baby Yoda in there to be the little... And now, how many millions of subscriptions to Disney Plus have been
Just
sold
because of that.
because John Favreau put Baby Yoda in The Mandalorian? Trust
Man
me,
is a genius.
more than Jeff Goldblum sold. And Jeff, nothing personal, but come on, you're not the reason people are subscribing to Disney Plus. Okay?
Even though I gotta admit, some of that's fun to watch Jeff Goldblum do his thing,
and some of them are dumpster
just
fires.
like
Yes,
boring as hell.
that's what we should change the name of our. We gotta go from Geeking Out to Dumpster Fire.
No,
The Dumpster Fireman.
No.
That's what we should call ourselves. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and close this episode out, and as for filming, we're going to jump right back into the next episode for The Mandalorian. So until next time, whatever that is, I'm Spike.
I'm Chris.
That is Chris. We'll see this time for real. The closure, the end. This episode of Geeking Out. We'll see you in a bit.
Bye.